Giovanni, how are you?
Huh?
I hear that you love dinosaurs. Is that true? Okay, so look, I have this one. What is the name of this one?
He's very loving. Giovanni loves being hugged and he loves being kissed, and that's funny because they say that kids with autism don't like a lot of touch, and I guess there are many who don't, but that doesn't mean that they all don't.
It's got my Allosaurus.
Okay, you have another one? That is a beautiful dinosaur. Oh my gosh. Okay, what about if this one fights it? What makes you think that Gio is on the autism spectrum?
Well, before Giovanni turned 2, he had a few words and he lost them all by age 2. And through reading, I realized that that was one of the traits of autism, to have regressive behavior. I also noticed that he would line up items. So if he had 5 cars, he would line them all up. If he had 5 bottles, 5 remote controls, he'd line up everything. And he wouldn't play imaginatively at all. So with these issues in mind, I took him to a doctor who gave him an at-risk of autism diagnosis. And well, here we are.
Which one is your favorite, Gio? This one?
This one is this one.
What are some of the assumptions people make when they meet Gio for the first time?
They assume that he can't learn much, but he's very brilliant. He actually knew how to count and knew his ABCs before he was able to say mommy and daddy. Right now he's 5, he reads, but unless you sit down with him one-on-one, you really cannot tell what he's capable of. So they assume that he's unable to learn. But sometimes people assume that he's just a normal child and don't understand why he may behave in a particular way. If you look at him, you don't see any physical traits of anything that's different. Sometimes depending on what he's doing or what questions he's being asked, he would respond like a normal child. So when he suddenly has disruptive behavior because he has noise sensitivity, some people may think that he's just spoiled or doesn't know how to control himself.
Show me which one, open the book and show me which one are your favorite dinosaurs.
This one looks perfect.
It looks perfect?
Yes.
Now take me back that day when you took him to the doctor and the doctor mentioned autism. What was the reaction like when you heard that?
Well, like I said, I had been doing a lot of reading before the doctor's appointment. Actually, I suggested to his pediatrician that I wanted to get him assessed before the pediatrician thought there was a reason. So when I got the diagnosis, I wasn't surprised because I had kind of gone through the list and prepared myself mentally that this could have been the outcome. I was sad, very sad. I mean, it took a few years to really wrap my mind around it, and I think in a sense I still am.
You like to eat?
Yes.
What food do you like?
It's bread.
Pizza. Tell me, what you like on top? Sauce, what else?
No.
No sauce?
And cheese and bread.
Oh, ketchup, cheese and bread. Now you talk about sadness. What makes you sad about hearing that your child might be on the spectrum?
It makes me sad because I know that there aren't many services available for him. Though I have never had like an intimate experience with anybody who has special needs, I do know that the services out there are very limited. And I felt that he would need intervention that I may or may not be able to give to him. I wasn't mentally prepared for it. I felt like maybe I wasn't the mother that he needed to do everything that he needed. I felt sad that, you know, growing up, my family pushed education and academics. So my siblings and I went to the best schools and, you know, we went to the best universities. And I felt like he may be deprived of that, you know. It was a different type of lifestyle and I had to prepare for him and I didn't know how to go about that.
Now, have you felt different from that moment to now?
Definitely. I think at that point I focused on all the bad stories I'd heard, all the failure stories I'd heard. I don't think I understood exactly what autism was. I didn't realize how remarkable he could be and how every day he could impress me. And I think really it was when my daughter was born, I realized I have a really intelligent child despite his other delays.
If I do like this, you have tickles? I think you do. I think you do. I think you do have tickles, plenty. Yeah, yeah. You are an autism dad.
Yeah.
What is that like?
I think it's a lot of ups and downs. So some days we celebrate a lot some of the milestones that he reaches. He's just such a loving child, so it brings us a lot of joy in that regard. But the downs are of course his struggles, his daily struggles.
That one is, I like this one and this one.
Right.
This one and this one and this one.
Look at mommy here. Say hello to mommy.
Hello.
Do you watch TV?
Masha and the bear.
Oh, Masha and the Bear. I love Masha and the Bear.
Circle out for pets and the laptop.
I always used to, when I was growing up, I always struggled with sympathizing with kids with special needs. I would always struggle to, how do you speak to them? How do you, approach them? And it would always be a struggle for me. So having a son with special needs was a real eye-opener for me. And it changed my life in that regard, in the way I approach children with special needs. A lot of them just want to be approached in the same way another child would be approached, a typical child. So it was something that I think God used to help me.
What's your sister's name?
Julie.
Is she nice to you? And you are nice to her?
Yes.
Very good. You're a good brother. Now, what are your hopes for people to understand about autism?
I would like them to understand that every autistic child is different. So meeting one or hearing one story doesn't mean that you know them all. There are times when he may behave out of character for someone else, and they may see him breaking down or crying, and they will stare or try to get involved in a way that may not be appropriate.
What's the name of your mom?
I don't know.
I'm sure you do.
Tashma.
Right, Tashma. And what is the name of your daddy?
Keeper.
Okay, so you remember. And your sister name is again?
Julie.
Yes, Julie, good job. If you're in a situation where Gio is having a meltdown, for example, what would be the appropriate approach for someone who does not know he's on the spectrum?
I think if someone doesn't know he's on the spectrum, they could probably just turn away and not give him more attention than is needed, because sometimes that just exacerbates the situation. They could also ask quietly when the situation has settled down, how can I help in the future? Or is he okay? Are you okay? Do you need anything? Always be kind, don't say anything harsh, because you don't always know the background to the situation. Don't always assume that a parent is not doing the best that she can because you're seeing something else.
How would you describe the public resources available for children with autism here in Trinidad?
Very poor. Very, very poor. It's a real struggle. We watched a video recently of our ministers speaking about those with special needs, and they really lacked insight and information, and it was quite alarming to hear that. It's really discouraging to know that the people that we are relying on to move in a certain direction to help children with special needs, that they don't have a clue of how bad the institutions are for them, how much resources they lack and that sort of thing. And I don't think there's much drive from the government to change that. So I think it's not a good picture at all, and the future is bleak in that regard.
How do you see Giovanni in the next 10 years?
Well, he's a handsome little boy. I think he's going to get all the girls.
I agree.
Giovanni, though he is delayed with his speech and he doesn't express himself as much as some other 5-year-olds do, he is a typical 5-year-old in the sense that he's very cheeky. He's very naughty. He can be conniving. He knows how to get his way, who to get his way with. So I think in 10 years, he will probably have that same general personality. I see him excelling because we have rallied around a lot of supportive people. So our parents, his grandparents support us a lot. His aunts and uncles, everybody's concerned about how he's doing. People step in to help, to get materials, to provide resources. So I think with all of that support that he has, the whole love that has been poured out into him since his diagnosis, I think with that he will be able to grow and to excel.
And what are your hopes for the future for Gio?
My hope, fundamental hope, first and foremost is, well, we are Christians, and my wife mentioned that. My main hope for him is, that he will know Christ as his Lord and Savior. That's one of my main hopes and prayers. I also hope that he would get as much, he'll be allowed in society to be able to do what, to function, to work, and to not be discriminated against. I really hope that, as he gets older, that society will become a lot more empathetic towards children with special needs, teenagers with special needs, adults, allow them to work, allow them to just live their life. So I really hope that, society will become more and more sensitized to these things, and, that he would have the opportunity to just live his life.
Our daughter is typical. She is almost 3, and she has brought out a lot in Giovanni. I mean, she is a gift from God. I found out that Giovanni had autism when I was 1 week away from delivering her. And after his diagnosis, I felt like, how am I going to manage with a newborn and a child with special needs? But she has been a gift to us all. She's been a ray of sunshine during those dark, early diagnosis days. And she and him get along so great. She brings out a lot in him that otherwise wouldn't come out. So she really tries to annoy him, and he has to use his voice and use his words to get through to her. And they argue and they fight and they play and they love each other. So they have a really special dynamic going on. As for our family, we've always wanted to be either foster care or adoptive parents. And actually recently, in the last 2 weeks, we got approved as foster care parents, and we do expect another child to join our family next week.
It's great to hear. That's wonderful.
Yes, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to a child being able to come into a loving home, a special needs home, for a child being able to... Oh, did you hurt yourself?
Oh.
Can I kiss it?
Kiss it?
No.
No, for my
For your
eye.
eye? Okay.
It's better.
Well, the first bit of advice I would give to dads. You don't have gummy dinosaurs. This is okay?
Yeah.
You don't have gummy dinosaurs right now. You have gummy animals. They are gummy animals. You want gummy animals? Okay, look at me. Is that okay? Yes?
No.
We learn to celebrate everything in this house, like everything. When he learned to take down his pants on his own, we celebrated, because before his finger muscles were too weak to do so. When he learned to put on his shirt, we celebrated. To brush his teeth, we celebrated. It became like a dance party. So create an atmosphere where you celebrate the smallest things, so that you could encourage yourself with that, and you can encourage your child as well.
It's not the end of the world. It really is an adventure. Stick around, because really and truly, you would think that, as a dad, there's only so much you could do, for your child, because, you're at work and that sort of thing. But you can't think like that. You can't think like that at all. When you go to work, yes, you provide for your family and you do what you can. But when you come home, be there for your kids. Be involved in your child's life, whether they have special needs or not. Just be as involved as possible. And be encouraged, because you're not the only one. There are a lot of children out there with special needs, and the worst thing you could do for them is to not be around and not, really try to help them, really try to get to know them. They need to know their dads. They really need to know their dads, and to trust their father. So I think that's the main advice I would give.